Hello everybody and welcome back to episode 2 of my YouTube channel, Wild and Worthy. I'm so excited you're back again. As you know, last week was my very first episode. I was so incredibly blessed with the amount of you that listened to it and subscribed, so thank you. That helps me so much to reach the people that really need to hear this. I'm so excited to share this week's topic with you. It's such a good one. It's such an important one. I think that it's the foundation of living a Christian life around this week's topic. So I'm really excited to talk about this and dive into this. Yeah, it's going to be so good. So let's get into it. This week we're going to talk about what our view of God is. What is your view of God? Stop and think about it for just a minute. Like, how do you view God? What is your view of God? For myself, for a long time, my view of God was not accurate at all. I thought he was very similar to an Amish bishop. I thought he was angry if I messed up, ready to just hit me over the head. I thought that he was very, very strict and not very loving. Like, I could not identify with the love of God for the longest time. And oftentimes, we tend to view God the same way that we view our earthly fathers, or how our relationship with our earthly fathers is oftentimes very similar to how we tend to view God. That was how I viewed God for the longest time. And my dad is an Amish minister, Amish preacher. He has been ever since I can remember. I don't ever remember him not being a preacher. And he is by nature a very dominant man. He is strong-willed. So often it felt like it was Dad's way or the highway, and it didn't matter how I felt, like it was his way no matter what. And he was just a very strict person. He still is. I love him to death. But we have to, I think sometimes we kind of diminish our story a little bit. We don't allow ourselves to take a full look at that, at how we view our dads, and be completely honest with ourselves, because, and I did this for a long time, I was like, but my dad did the best he could. Like, he wasn't that bad. He did the best he could. And to think of where he came from, like, he did a pretty great job. But if you really want to change your perspective of how you view God and how to have a correct view of God, you need to be able to be honest with yourself about what your experience was growing up, because that is your story to tell. It's not going to affect him, what your story is. I'm sure your dad did the absolute best he knew, and that is okay. But it is also okay if that wasn't what you needed, if that wasn't good enough. You know what I mean? Until I gave myself the permission to say, okay, you know what? Yeah, my dad did the best he could, but it was not what I needed. It was not good. It did not give me a good picture of who God was. And I am not angry at him for that. I forgive him for that. But I'm able to be honest about it and be like, okay, so let me take a look at this. And is this how I view my dad? Is this how I view God? And it was very, very much so. So one thing I would like for you today is just to grab a pen and paper and write down all the words that come to mind when you think of your dad. Write everything down that you can think of. And if it's good, that is amazing. You probably don't struggle as much to view God the right way. And I'm so happy for you, because it's, yeah, you're off to a great start. But if it's not good, that's okay too. I'm going to give you the tools, everything that I know, that I've learned, that has helped me to be able to reverse that image in my head and to believe with everything in me that God is good, he is loving, he is kind, and he is my best friend. And it has dramatically changed my life. So right now, do that. Grab a pen and paper, write that down, and then we'll go back to that later. Another thing that you can do that is a great exercise, and this isn't in a time frame, you take however long you need, because this truly is a journey, and the shift in your brain is not going to happen overnight. You are going to revert back to your old ways of thinking many, many times, but it is totally possible to change it. The more you recognize it and you catch yourself and you're like, wait, that's not what I believe anymore. This is what I believe of God and who God is. The way I want you to do that is to look up in the Bible everything you can find, all the verses, everything you can find about the characteristics of God, who God is, what he's like. There's a lot in there. My mentor told me to do this when I was really struggling, and it really opened my eyes, and just writing down the truths about who God is was powerful. So I highly encourage you to do that. You can even, if you're a little bit lazy, you can Google, or you can ask ChatGPT for the verses. Like, where do I find verses on characteristics of God and what God's like? You can ask ChatGPT anything, and it will give you a pretty decent answer. You obviously always go by the word of God. If it's not biblical, then no, don't listen to it. But for the most part, I've had good experiences with using the tool. That's one exercise that is just the start of changing your thinking, changing the way you believe, how you believe God is. One verse, just off the top of my head, Romans 5:8, talks about God, and that he is loving. Let's look that up real quick. But God demonstrates his own love to us. This, while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. We tend to, okay, God can love me if I do everything right, if I don't sin, if I act perfectly. But he chose to love you while you were still a sinner. So that just kind of avoids that whole thinking. And I think once you start really thinking about these things and processing a few things more, it'll open your eyes a lot to, wait, let's look at this. Let's analyze this. Is this the truth? Or what have I been taught? What have I been believing? If you do struggle to believe that God truly loves you, remember that God loved you and chose to love you while you were still a sinner, before you gave your life to Jesus. And even if you mess up, he still loves you. He still chooses to love you. Romans 8:37-39 is another good one. It says, "No, in all these things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. For I am sure neither death, nor life, nor angels, nor rulers, nor things present, nor things to come, neither any powers, height, depth, or anything in creation is able to separate you from the love of Jesus." That is powerful. Like, nothing, absolutely nothing, can make God not love you. You are not capable of doing anything that will make him not love you. And that is wild to me, because I think as humans, our love it tends to be superficial. It tends to be very conditional. We are supposed to have unconditional love like Jesus, but it's our human nature to love somebody when everything's going right and it's going good and we're not getting hurt. But if we're getting hurt and if we're being wronged and things, it's a lot harder to love somebody the same way. But nothing can make that God doesn't love you. I think that's incredible. Another thing that I have done that has made a big difference, and just has helped me in a lot more areas than just this, but talk to God daily and ask him every morning when you get up. Just ask him, God, show me your love today. Show me what your love looks like. And it can be in many different ways. It can be nature, if nature speaks to you. Or one of my favorites is if I lose something and like I need this thing back. And now I just tend to, anytime I have, like if I lose something, or if, like this morning I was going somewhere, I was driving somewhere to pick up a check, and I had been there one time myself before, but I had GPS and an address. Well, I couldn't find the address this morning, and I couldn't get a hold of my husband to call him for the address. So I was like, okay, we're winging this. God, I need to get there. I don't know for sure how to get there, but I know that you're going to get me there. And he did. I got there just fine. I never got lost, and everything was fine. And I just love when you're able to have a relationship like that with him, because it takes it to a whole nother level. It's not just the holy one up high anymore. It's your best friend. It's your live-in bestie that is always with you 24/7. Ask him daily, just show me your love. Show me how you love me today. I have a list of a few truths about God that I could think of. The first one is God is just. God is a just God. There's no joke about that. He is also merciful. We'll have to dig deeper into that in another video. God is holy. God is kind. God knows everything. God is peace. God is compassionate. God is forgiving. Well, something I never knew growing up was this little sentence right here, and it holds so much truth. God delights in extending grace. It's not a burden for him to forgive us. It's not a pain in the butt for him. He's not like, when you mess up again or sin again, he's not like, oh my gosh, again. That's not what he thinks at all. He delights in forgiving us. He is so excited when we come back to him. He's like, yay, my daughter came back, my child came back. He rejoices. Think of the story of the prodigal son. Like, his dad did not care about the fact that he had been gone for years and had totally spent all his money and ruined the inheritance, whatever. He didn't care. He was just happy that his child was back home. That is how God feels when you come back to him. One thing that helped me understand this a little bit better was having a child of my own, because I would do anything for my babies. Another truth to remember and to wrap your brain around and just to believe is the fact that when he forgives you for something, it's just one day after another, you feel like you just mess up again and again, and you get impatient at your kids and you yell, and you're just like, I know this is wrong, but I just get frustrated and you're discouraged. But the thing is, when God forgives you, he forgets about the sin. Like, it's literally wiped off your slate and you're literally clean. So it's not like he's remembering and tallying up all these past times that you've messed up and like, would you just learn already? Like, that is so not him. That is not how he operates. So don't ever think that you're too bad or too dirty to come to Jesus, because it's so far from the truth. God is so excited when you come to him. He left the 99 to find the one that needed rescuing. So if you are already one of his beloved children and you're doing your best to live your life for Jesus, he is so proud of you. He is so happy that you are trying, and he sees the pain and the struggles. He sees it all, and he is just delighted when you come back to him. There's never too many times where you can come back to Jesus, running back with your problems and like complaining to him, because that is the best place to put them. That's the only place to put them that you will actually benefit. Remember that today. God is so excited when we come back home. I hope that is encouraging to you. It has been a journey for me to wrap my brain around just this whole thing of even understanding salvation and believing the truth about what God is really like. But yeah, I think that kind of concludes it for this week's video. If you have any questions or comments, always comment them down below. I'm more happy to chat with you all in the comments or send me a direct message. Next week is going to be another incredible video. I'm so excited to talk about that topic. It is something that I am very, very passionate about. It has changed my life. So make sure you don't miss that. Make sure you subscribe so you stay up to date on everything. And I am so happy you are here. Thank you for listening.